gas, and you. You know, I really didn't want to make this video, but I'm married now, which means that I officially get to be a real human being and just totally let myself go and fart whenever I want to, so we can finally talk about it. Because he's stuck with me. So I just want everyone to know as we get started that passing gas or farting is totally normal. In fact, you know, the average liar farts 15 times a day. The average person who tells the truth does it a lot more. And I personally feel that passing gas, just like pooping, has gotten a bad name because everybody on a standard Western diet, like when they poop or pass gas, it's a freaking big deal. It's noxious. It's not nice. Clear the room. Don't want to do it. Too many sulfur-containing amino acids. No. What most people discover when they switch to a whole plant food diet is that using the bathroom, pooping, and passing gas becomes much more pleasant activity. But oftentimes it's just that transition period where you're coming onto a new diet or you're introducing a new food or a new type of food into your diet that the gas can get a little bit intense and the smells might be a little bit more offensive than you wish they were. And we're definitely going to talk about that in a couple of minutes, but first, let's just be really clear, you know, gas comes from a couple of different places. One is swallowing air when you eat or drink. This is really common, and it's a very common cause of gas. And I feel like this is something that people either just aren't aware of, or for some reason they don't want to admit that they do it because it sounds weird. But most people swallow a significant amount of air when they eat and drink. I know I certainly do. It can be hard to notice, but once you pay attention to it, you kind of realize, like, fair amounts going down the hatch. So that can be one cause of gas buildup, discomfort from gas inside your digestive tract. The other one is from bacterial fermentation. That usually takes place inside your intestines, since that is the richest place for fermentation bacteria. And this is where a lot of people end up having issues with really fibrous foods like beans or cabbage or greens or whatever other new food that you're introducing into your digestive tract. Because you have a little ecosystem of bacteria inside your gut, and that ecosystem, it likes to stay pretty balanced. You know, you have your species that are dominant, you have your species that kind of hide in little crevices and corners and just kind of grab what they can get, and each species kind of has its own specialty. It has its own favorite food. People on a standard Western diet tend to grow a lot of bacteria that love digesting proteins and fats. And those bacteria tend to emit a lot of noxious odors and noxious chemicals that can contribute to disease, especially diseases like colon cancer. People who eat plant-based or vegan diets, especially people who are focusing on whole foods and keeping the processed food to a minimum, they tend to have high populations of bacteria that love digesting plant fibers. Fortunately, in most cases, those types of bacteria that like to digest the plant fibers, they tend to emit odorless types of gases. So on a plant-based diet, what we hope for is that you're still, you know, it's like you're passing gas, farting happens, there's no way to stop it. But ideally, that's going to be odorless gas, so you can just walk around farting all day and nobody's ever gonna know. And these bacteria also tend to excrete their metabolic wastes, which are usually nourishing things for the gut, like short-chain fatty acids. And so they work with us to promote gut health. And this is why, you know, kind of like the smell, odor of the gas that we emit can tell us a lot about the probable health of our colons. But like I said, I do know that a lot of people who come to a whole foods diet, you know, foods like beans and cabbage are really promoted over here. I know I promote them a lot, and they're so good for us that it's important to include foods like this in your diet. But when you first introduce them, especially if you eat a lot at once, it can be a really traumatic experience. You can end up with really bad gas, bloating, discomfort in your stomach. It's it's not nice. It can feel like you're getting ripped apart. Part of this is because the fibers could be rougher than your intestines are used to, and as the fibers go through, they kind of rub up against the intestines and irritate them. Your intestines can definitely adapt to that by increasing the protective mucoid layer of your intestines. It's called the mucin, and it's totally natural, normal, and healthy to have a layer of mucus surrounding your intestines. It's a good thing. You don't want to get rid of it. Don't listen to the crazy raw food detoxers that talk about getting rid of all of your mucus. Sorry, tangent. And luckily your body is also capable of managing the amount of gas that is produced during the digestion of these foods. It just takes a little bit of time. It takes a few weeks for your microbiome to get settled, for your intestines to learn how to work with this new food. I mean, very interestingly, there are actually species of bacteria that can and will adapt and proliferate inside your intestines, and they actually feed on the gases that are produced by other bacteria. And I speak from experience. The first 2 weeks that I started adding red cabbage into my diet were a nightmare. I probably should have waited to do it until I was married, because it's a miracle he stayed with me. So you just have to approach it in a smart way and be consistent and kind to your body, and this is how to do that. So say you want to introduce beans or something like red cabbage into your diet, but when you eat those foods, you end up with like a bunch of gas and it just doesn't smell nice. So smart, proactive ways that you can incorporate these foods into your diet more and more. Say you want to increase your consumption of beans or something really healthy like red cabbage. What you want to do is you want to eat small amounts of those foods. So I would say just like start out with a few spoonfuls of beans, slowly work your way up to like a half a cup of beans at a time, and just eat small amounts once or twice a day. You'll want to be consistent about this so that the types of bacteria that'll be in your gut that will successfully digest those fibers for you will slowly but surely have their populations increase. They'll be consistently well fed, and they will fairly quickly proliferate. You also want to make sure that you're starting to cut out other unhealthy foods at the same time. So things like animal products and processed foods that don't contain very much fiber. You'll want to do your best to wean yourself off of those so that the types of bacteria that feed on those that produce more odoriferous types of gases slowly start to die away because you starve them to death. It's like Game of Thrones in your colon. I'm just kidding, I've never watched Game of Thrones. And then it's really just a matter of patience. Research has shown that upwards of 70% of people actually just stop experiencing any types of issues with excessive gas or flatulence 2 to 3 weeks after they made a dietary shift. So you just have to give your microbiome some time to adjust. For the other 30% of people, it might just take a little bit more time, or the addition of probiotic supplements could be really helpful. I've done some videos about those. Some other tricks to think about is how your food is prepared. So canned beans are known to be more gas producing than beans that you would cook at home. Canned beans are also a lot more expensive, so I would highly suggest cooking your own beans. I've made a video about how to cook delicious beans. I suggest you check that out. And when you are cooking your beans, specifically if you're trying to cut down on the amount of gas that they produce inside your intestines, one way is to soak the beans for 12 to 24 hours beforehand and then pour off all of the soak liquid. A lot of people find that that really helps to cut down on the amount of gas that those beans make them produce. Another trick is to add 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda per gallon of soak water. So you'll probably, like when I make a really big batch of beans and I soak them, I'm probably only soaking them in like half a gallon of water. So that would be 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda, whatever. You'll have to do your own math. But adding some baking soda into the soak water and then pouring it off before you cook can really help to cut down on the gas too. Also, when you're cooking your beans, you can cook them with spices like turmeric, ginger, pepper, and garlic. And all of those are known to help cut down on the amount of gas that beans produce when they're in your intestines. So just remember, passing gas is normal. You know, we don't want to be doing excessively or, you know, with a lot of odor, but it's normal. On a plant-based diet, it's totally fine. But when you're making big changes in your diet, just be consistent, be patient, help your body out with good cooking practices, consider a probiotic supplement to help your guts get a little bit more balanced. And beyond that, just do your best not to stress out too much about it, because tension and worry in the body slows down colon motility, meaning that the peristalsis, or the muscular contractions going through your intestines, slow and become limited when you're under stress. So try to calm, take some deep belly breaths. I think you're gonna be fine. Just be patient. Okay? Alright guys, that is it for this video. As always, likes are always appreciated. I love your comments. And share this video far and wide with anyone experiencing excessive flatus. You can leave more questions for me down below, and those will be added to the list to be addressed in future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. It is a pleasure as always. And until next time, make better choices for your lovely self and take really, really good care. I will see you all very soon. Bye! Gotta maximize the little bit of lip I have.